day 74, a good day for Montana, I would say, and definitely a win for Montanans everywhere. Most of the bills on the House floor today were Senate amendments again. It's a little bit confusing because if you're watching the video, you might see a sponsor of a bill recommend a do not concur with amendments. So the Senate somehow changed that person's bill in a way that they don't like, and so they, instead of making a motion to agree with them and pass the bill, they make a motion to not agree with the amendments. So if a sponsor says I motion to do not concur, then if you vote yes on that motion, you're actually voting against the amendments, and so you have to really be paying attention. It's a good lesson in logic. And then that's on the amendment. The next day when the bill is on third reading, you're actually voting on the bill itself. So, of course, today we had on second reading the bill we talked about yesterday, Senate Bill 107. And I actually wanted to show you the language of the bill so that everyone would be really clear what we're talking about. The language of the bill, actually, this is Montana's code now. Deviant sexual relationships means sexual contact or sexual intercourse between two persons of the same sex or any form of sexual intercourse with an animal. And this bill, you can see, strikes out persons of the same sex, so that in Montana, deviant sexual intercourse would mean any form of intercourse with an animal. And also notice it doesn't say intercourse, it says sexual contact or intercourse. It's really strong language, and that's what Senate Bill 107 was about, was changing that language. Today, we saw an amendment brought. The amendment was brought by Representative Carey and said, yeah, okay, well, this might be an all right bill, but I'm really worried that in cases of rape, we should still have a distinction between homosexual and heterosexual rape. And you can watch on online the testimony, and that was just pretty offensive. And the amendment failed, so that was good news. 42 people voted for making a distinction that says that homosexual rape is worse than heterosexual rape, or somehow if I were raped, it would be less offensive than if a male was raped. So then we got to the discussion of the bill. And good news, this bill passed today. It passed with 64 votes for it. So that's great news. We've been trying to get this out of Montana law since 1991, and that's definitely a huge victory. I guess have high standards, higher standards, because I was really still disappointed that 36 people voted against this bill. And you can go online and look and see who those 36 people are. But let's talk about the testimony for a minute. Representative O'Neill said that if we pass this bill, there's no way to stop schools from teaching the homosexual lifestyle. And he said, my homosexual friends don't want this taught in school. For example, a second grade teacher could introduce her lover to her second grade students, and she would have just as much a right to do that as a heterosexual teacher would, and he insinuated that that was really dangerous. Representative Warburton stood up and said that she agreed that schools will teach Bobby's two daddies stories, and that was really dangerous and that we should vote against this bill. I don't know which one of these wins for most offensive, but it probably is when Representative Hagstrom from Billings stood up and first of all started his testimony with, no homophobic issues here, none at all, so please don't think that this is where that's coming from. And then asked Representative Bennett, the sponsor of the bill, what is the purpose of sex? Then he said that homosexual sex is deviant, and that sex is meant to produce people, and sex that doesn't produce people is deviant and therefore should be in the code as deviant behavior. I have to say that there was a Republican representative from Colstrip, I think, who stood up and talked about the diversity among his children and said that his 3 children who are veterans definitely would die to defend the rights of his daughter, who should be able to choose any lifestyle that she wants. That was really brave of him to do. I could tell it was really hard for him, and everyone should be uplifting him and sending him cards of thank you. So then that spurred Representative Jerry Bennett to stand up and say, I committed my life to my wife and to Christ, and that obeying God means not following Satan, and that we have an influence of evil and an influence of Satan, and that's what we're seeing with this, and that's why I will vote against this bill. So I'm sorry to put such a negative spin on it, but Montana, are those really your values? We're so thankful the bill passed, but we definitely could use some change in the Montana House of Representatives. Those are pretty extreme things to say, especially when you're standing up and speaking for 10,000 people. That's really, really something to be careful about. So 36 people today voted to keep gay sex as a felony, or gay contact. So the ones that are voted no are the ones who are saying, I like the Montana law the way it is. Maybe you should be checking to see what your representative voted and thinking about whether you're being represented in the Montana legislature. I really think that your work helped, our work helped, so it's a win for us. Great job, you guys, contacting and making phone calls and getting the word out. The Montana Public Radio show, in other words, is going to air tonight at 10:30. And they are doing a 1-hour interview with me specifically about Medicaid expansion and other women's issues. So you might want to tune in tonight, or you can go to the In Other Words website and download the podcast if you're unable to listen to it when it airs tonight. We are doing some good work. We're getting the word out there about representing Montana values. And I'm really, really, really proud of all of you guys who are paying attention and getting involved, because it is making a difference. It showed today. Thank you. One last quick thing. The rawstory.com and the Huffington Post both picked up yesterday's video. And in addition to the Montana Public Radio show that we're going to have on tonight, we really are starting to get people talking about what values we have here in Montana. It's pretty exciting.